All right, so yesterday I made a pretty big mistake. It was bad enough I had to stop for the day and just kind of go sit, relax, think about what was going on and come up with a game plan. So I want to show you guys what happened so that hopefully you don't have the same issue. Yeah, because this is not great. So I was working on the lower control arm here, right, and pressing out the bushings. And I had it in the vise, kind of standing up. And I got the bottle jack out of the truck, right, kind of this way. I was using the bottle jack to try to press out the bushing. Now, the inner piece of the bushing here, whatever this part is that you push through, that part was kind of crooked, obviously on this one. And I thought no big deal, right? It'll straighten it out as it gets in there. This bushing's actually like super wasted, if you guys can see in there. Like it's roached, right? So I was like, oh, no big deal. And then I was using a socket, right? Something like that to push on it. And I think maybe the socket was just partially too small. It should have been a little bit wider to help fit. Like even this one's coming apart. Should have been a little bit wider. And what I didn't realize while I was using the bottle jack is that inner disc actually caught on the lip. I think it was the lower side here, and so it was angled inside. And if y'all can, hang on. You can kind of see, if you'll focus inside there, yeah. So there's this ridge where it sort of peeled up the metal. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. So that's probably not good. The other issue, if you could see, is this hole is out of round now. This piece of pipe or tube, whatever. Looking at it this way, it's oblonged like this. Looking at it this way, it looks like it's a little oblonged like that. So yeah. And then the other thing I didn't notice is I feel like it was kind of like that, like the boiling frog or boiling crab effect, whatever, right? Where as the water temperature rises slowly, it doesn't know that the water is boiling until it's too late. I kept pressing, and those arms were slowly getting wider, and I didn't really realize it until it was already like too far gone. Like this was probably a little bit taller. And then the other thing that happened is like, it looks not right. And as I gave it one more twist, there was a pop inside the jack, and now the jack's broken. So what I'm gonna do, my options are to try to make this work or to buy a whole new one. I'm buying a whole new control arm. It's about 280 bucks, which isn't huge, but I'm already pretty deep into this project. I would like to get it finished this weekend. And ordering something is going to take a while. I don't think that this is too terrible. I've already kind of hit it with the sledge and a little frustration yesterday because it was so wonky and I was trying to push it back. I think maybe between the shop press, a little heat, and the sledge, I can get this more round. I'm going to take this one apart the correct way, right? And if you have the shop press, the right way to do that is to, just like on the upper arm, this flange here, flare that out so that you can get the, what do you call it? Like the bearing splitter in there so that the bearing splitter actually rides on this surface rather than on this, and you can push the bushing out without spreading the arms. And what I should have done with the bottle jack that I just overlooked because I was like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing, it's great, is actually run a ratchet strap around this guy, or a couple of ratchet straps, to try to help keep it together. Got a little bit of cracking? Might be a little crack. Kind of clean it up. It might be just in the paint. Please just be in the paint, right? Anywho, so I'm gonna try to make this work. If I can make it work, I'm gonna go for it. And if I can't, then we'll order a new one. But I reached out to some folks online to see what they thought, and they were like, oh yeah, get a new one, right? And the biggest problem might be holding alignment. And I'm trying to wrap my head around how it would not be able to hold alignment. Like, I guess if that bushing's not in there snug, right, it could wiggle. But the goal is, I'm gonna see if I can get this clamped down enough that it still holds the bushing tight, right? And then my thought is I might have to, if it's still a little oblong, maybe put a little silicone around it or something to try to keep as much moisture from getting in there. But yeah, so that's the goal, is to try to get that sleeve straightened out more, get this bushing out the right way, and then see if we can bring these arms back in so that it fits in the truck. Yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, so how we're gonna start here is with our punch, hammer, and we're gonna drive this flange downward to make some space so that that bearing splitter will sit on that surface. We're just gonna give it that all the way around till it's nice and flared out. So, little chisel, regular punch, and a big chisel later. And enough smacks to this finger that I'm not confident it's not broken. Here's what we got. See how that piece is flared up almost all the way around. The backside here is really difficult to get to, but yeah, so that should be enough. Now we can take our bearing splitter, bearing splitter, get that on here one way or another. There we go. Now I want these edges to be resting on the control arm. I think about right there. Is pretty good. Just kind of snug it down. All right, so the best I can tell there is now that bearing splitter is sitting on the lip of the control arm. And now we can go press it out like we would the upper ball joints. Hopefully that works better. Got that one out. Nice and easy, no problems. A little scuffing here and there. Not a big deal, but we're still round as compared to the oblongness of this one. So now I think I'm going to try to find a way to get this in the press and try to squeeze these back together until they fit straight back in the truck. Yeah, see how that goes. All right, so here's what I think I'm going to try on this. I've got the arm rested on the bottom plate. There's no tension on it yet. The upper arm up in here. And I measured the passenger side, or the driver's side, and I'm about 3/4 of an inch out, spread over here. So we're gonna see if I can push that back into it. And like as it sits, I don't know if you all can see this, but like sitting with this one flat, this one is clearly like flared out. So I'm hoping this pushes it back. I guess I could put the ram just on the end out here for a little more torque. I'm hoping to bring this whole thing, I think that slid up on me, so that this plate ends up pushing flat on this arm and brings it back together. And I guess worst case, right? If this doesn't work, I have to buy a new one. And so I'm either in the I fix it and we see how it goes, and if the alignment, if it won't hold in alignment, it gets screwy, I buy a new one. If I try to fix it and it breaks, I buy a new one. If I don't fix it and just buy a new one, I buy a new one. So yeah, I guess we see how it works. If it works, awesome. If not, I'm buying a new one anyways. So here goes nothing. It seems like it's working. Let's see where we're at. I think I needed to be 13 and 5/8 outside to outside, if I remember right. We're still at about a little over 13 3/4 there. Just trying to see if there's a better way to kind of work on this. I mean, it was pushing opposite that, so I'm just doing the exact opposite the best I can figure. I feel like it's bending a lot right there, but it's sort of straightening this as it goes. Pretty close there. Rather than go too far too fast. Gonna have some spring back, but I want to make sure I'm not deforming this any worse. Actually it looks rounder. But what I want to avoid is just bending this completely right there. It still needs to come in some. So with that spring back, we're about 14 inches. So we still got to come in 3/8 of an inch overall. Now, that's just marring the finish, whatever. Trying to decide would it be better to bring the rim down here and press there. Maybe we'll give that just a little like that. That would help. It's still a little wonky that way. This seems like a bad idea. I feel like I'm less of a fan of that than I thought I would be. Yeah, let's just kind of smushing there. All right, well, let's just go back to this. What if we give it a little bit on the outer edge like that? That I feel like is going to deform this. Okay, let's not do that. Let's go back to where the whole thing had some support. What I'm really afraid of is just catastrophic failure. That's pretty close to where it needs to be. Let's give it a little more because it's going to spring back. Are you all as nervous as I am? Sweating right now. It's only like 45 degrees. Definitely better. See how she measures out. It sprung back just a hair past where I had hoped. And I'm not seeing any colossal damage or deformation. No cracks in the welds. I'll go slide it under the truck, see what I think. But what's crazy is I swear that this sleeve has come back to round. I mean, it's a little jacked up on this side from the hammer, but god dang. Like compared to an old bushing, that's an upper control arm bushing, that's not particularly helpful. Also an upper control arm bushing. Here we go. I mean, damn, that's, I can't really put it in that side because of that galling up in there. But that is damn close to round. Let's see what it looks like in the truck. It looks good in the truck. It fits without rubbing on the sides like it did before. How big a deal is 1/8 of an inch? Like, do I try to get that 1/8 of an inch back and risk blowing this out? Or do I call it good? Weld is definitely flaring that too much. Yeah, I'm gonna regret this a lot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just marring it up. So what I was looking at when I said it was marring it up, it's just this outer edge here and the weld for this stud. Not the best of friends. That really did nothing. Maybe a 16th. I think I'm gonna live with it. I'm gonna live with it. That is significantly straighter. By God, that hole is round again. So we're gonna clean up this like little peel here. It seems real bad, but I think it's just because it was for so far. I think we'll be okay. And yeah, we'll check. Once I clean this out, we'll see how the new bushings seem like they're gonna fit, because that has to get pressed in this way. If the new bushing's loose, whatever. Yeah. And then the other thing we get to fix is that hole there. That is where the not the track bar. Gosh dang it, now I can't think of the name of it. But anyways, one of the support bars that goes across is supposed to bolt in there, and apparently it worked itself loose or wasn't tightened or something, and it's wallowed that out. So we get to fix that. This is from me having to cut that bolt off because it was so frozen I couldn't get it apart. But yeah, that hole's good and walled out. So we're gonna have to fix that. And everything I've seen says either weld a washer in it or just fill it with weld and drill a new hole. That might be the best option, except for that fun flux core welder I've got. But I guess it can't be worse, right? The other thing I can do is if that doesn't work, I can just weld, I'm sorry. If that doesn't work, I can just weld a plate around the outside of it or on the inside of it and drill a hole in that and call that good. Today is looking brighter because yesterday I was freaking out. All right, let's get, oh yeah, there's a good angle of that little galling there. Let's get a file, work that out of there, and see if we can get bushings in this bad boy. All right, well, we got that burr knocked down a whole lot. There's a little one kind of down in there, and then the main one right there on that edge. It still sticks out just a hair, but I put it away. The bushing will actually slide down in there and it's snug against it. So I'm just gonna let it do that. On this one, the bushing goes in most of the way and it's like somewhere in the center is the tight spot. So I'm assuming this will end up being the same. Because whether I put the bushing in from the top or the bottom, it kind of gets to around that midpoint and gets snug as well. So I think we're good there. Next is, nope, not that. That guy down there. Gonna kind of clean up that and weld it up, I guess. Get that cleaned up a little bit. Got it all cleaned up. Sorta. This side looked good. Gooder, I guess. Now let's weld it. All right, so the best way I have found to try to make this flex core welder work, especially on a thicker piece of metal like this, that's probably about 1/8 inch. I might be a little low, even on my wire speed. 5, yeah. So the best way I figured to make it work is to preheat the crap out of the workpiece, and then it seems to weld and bond better. This will also burn off a little bit of paper towel from the acetone. But we're filled up. That's definitely ugly. Try to brush that a little bit better. Maybe lay a couple of passes around that. Kind of fill in towards the bottom of this guy a little bit. Try to make it all smooth so I can grind and flatten it out. She ain't pretty, but it's filled up. I'd say we are in the let it cool a bit, grind it down, and see where we're at spot. All right, so while we're waiting on that lower control arm to cool a bit so I can grind it down, let's throw the bushings back in these uppers. That's probably not good. I didn't even have to press that. Okay. All right, well, it didn't take the press. This one was a little tight, but a couple of smacks by hand and it went in. This one, on the other hand, just goes in and out. So that's a little less than ideal. We might try to squish that a little bit, add some tension or something, but yeah, upper control arm back together. All right, well, I gave these bushing sleeves just the slightest of squeeze. Now that bushing stays in there. There is just a tiny bit of a gap up here at the top, but I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. It's just a little squeeze on the bushing. Okay, I brought the press down on it, and then just by hand cranked it, so we're not too deformed, we're just snug. So now our upper control arms ready to go. So we've got our repair here. I'm going to try to hit that with the flap disc. The inside, what I can, I will, but I'll probably have to resort to the die grinder for a lot of it. Yeah. See how she turns out. Not too bad, a couple of holes to fill. Well, here it is, all painted up. Fresh hole drilled for the sway bar link. Bushings are in. Even this one here that we thought might be a problem, pressed in like it was a good tight fit. I sort of test fitted it into the truck, and the arms are still a little too wide, but it goes in, right? It has a little bit of pressure on the bushings on each side, a little more than the other side did, but it'll go. And I messed up the wet paint, so I got to fix that. And tomorrow, if not sooner, this bad boy should be in, and we should be buttoning up the truck. Well, that's how I repaired that A-arm. Hopefully everything works out all right. It went back in the truck just fine. So we'll see if it holds alignment and everything. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff, what to do, what not to do. Bottle jack like that, not the best idea. That one's still broken, so I guess I'm gonna Amazon one of those. Anywho, hopefully you guys learned some stuff. You won't make the same mistake I did. And if you do, you know how to fix it. See you next time.